3 years ago, I married into the Bowmont family, one of the wealthiest dynasties on the East Coast. It was a bizarre arrangement. A wedding ceremony held not for love, but as a desperate prayer. They said it would bring good luck to Victoria Bowmont, the heiress who lay in a coma. In exchange, I got to live a life most men only see through a screen. A sprawling mansion in Greenwich, a fleet of supercars, and a black card with no limit. Then one day she opened her eyes. My wife of 3 years, the woman they called the Sleeping Beauty of Wall Street, finally woke up. She was cold, distant, and painfully in love with someone else. So I printed a fresh copy of a divorce agreement and walked straight to my mother-in-law. What I didn't expect was her response. She grabbed her limited edition Hermes Birkin bag and said, "Let's go, Ethan. I'm leaving with you." I found Catherine Bowmont in the wine cellar, slowly swirling a glass of deep red Cabernet. "Mom," I said, holding out the papers. "I want to divorce Victoria." Her hand froze in midair. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I'm sure. But don't worry. I'll still come visit. I can still be your personal masseuse." Because the truth was, in the 3 years I spent at the Bowmont estate, Catherine, a powerhouse board director of the family's global conglomerate, treated me like the son she never had. She was more of a mother to me than my own ever was. To my shock, she gently set down her glass and pressed the intercom. "Have the jet prepped for immediate departure," she ordered. "And pack my essentials." "Yes. Right now." I stared at her. "Mom, what are you doing?" She smiled, calm, elegant, unwavering. "I'm tired of this place too. I'm coming with you. Time for a new chapter." My jaw dropped. "But what about Harrison, your husband?" She waved her hand like she was brushing off a fly. "Oh, and tell him I'm divorcing him too," I whispered under my breath, stunned. Holy sh. In my previous life, I was a Wall Street burnout, a financial analyst who worked himself into an early grave. After a solid week of all-nighters staring at glowing stock tickers, my heart gave out. I died at my own trading terminal. When I woke up, I wasn't dead. I was in another world, in the body of a broke recent college grad named Ethan Miller. At the exact moment I woke up in his body, the original Ethan was being tempted by an astronomical sum of money. He was offered a deal: marry into the Bowmont family and act as a good luck charm for their comatose daughter. He agreed, and his life instantly became a joke. His ex-girlfriend mocked him. His friends laughed at him. They called him a kept man. He got drunk, boarded a bus, and died from alcohol poisoning. The second I absorbed his memories, the Bowmont butler appeared at the door, demanding I honor the agreement. Then my phone buzzed. A wire transfer hit my bank. More zeros than I'd ever seen. I didn't hesitate. "I'll do it. Where do I sign?" The original Ethan's parents clutched the cashier's check. They cried real tears of joy. "Ethan, go live a good life with the Bowmonts. Don't worry about us." And I understood. In a world where people worship wealth and doom-scroll celebrity lifestyles on Instagram, this wasn't just money. It was survival. It was escape. The original Ethan's fragile pride didn't stand a chance against cold, hard cash. I did the math. Victoria Bowmont was in a coma, which meant I'd be nothing more than a glorified caretaker, paid like a king. The Bowmonts weren't rich. They were royalty. This wasn't a step up. It was a quantum leap. Overnight freedom. No more grinding. No more begging bosses. No more waiting for promotions that never come. A man who burned out on Wall Street recognizes a golden parachute when he sees one. A month later, I was married. The ceremony was simple. Afterwards, Catherine handed me the keys to a brand new Aston Martin and an unlimited credit card. "Ethan," she said quietly, "I know this is a lot to ask. From now on, make yourself at home. Spend whatever you want. Ask for whatever you need." Then she looked toward the room where Victoria lay unconscious. And as for the woman in that room, think of her as a very expensive, very beautiful piece of art. For display purposes only. Catherine Bowmont, born a DuPont, was one of the core directors of the Bowmont Group. Perfectly preserved. Looking like she never aged past 38. But there was always loneliness behind her eyes. And honestly, I was confused. If I didn't know Victoria was her daughter, I would have thought they were enemies. She must have seen the confusion on my face. She sighed. Victoria's accident was 3 years ago. We've flown specialists in from around the world. The odds are slim. She paused. This whole good luck charm idea? It's just a desperate prayer. At the time, I was too stunned by the luxury and her presence to say anything. I just nodded. Okay, Mom. For 3 years, I lived the dream. I woke up whenever I wanted. Spent afternoons drinking cocktails by the pool with Catherine. She taught me about fine wines, Swiss watches, contemporary art. My old freeloading friends tried to visit, but security stopped them at the iron gates. Not even close. When life got boring, I taught Catherine how to play Call of Duty. She turned out to be terrifyingly good. She climbed ranks fast. When I played badly and lost her games, she'd secretly have a flashier supercar delivered to the garage. Every night, I slept in a guest bed in Victoria's room. And before sleeping, I'd whisper, "Mrs. Bowmont, ma'am, thanks to you, this gig is amazing. You just keep sleeping. Take your time." I truly never believed she'd ever wake up. On the 3rd anniversary of our wedding, she did. That day, Catherine and I were on the family yacht in the Mediterranean, fishing. I was stretched out on a lounge chair with sunglasses on, soaking in the sun. Beside me, a glass of vintage Dom Perignon, a tin of freshly flown-in caviar. Then, the head of staff came running. "She's awake." He held a satellite phone, his hands shaking. Mrs. Bowmont opened her eyes. My hand jerked. Champagne spilled all over the deck. I whispered, "I'm screwed." My soft life, my kept man lifestyle was over. I jumped up, ready to rush back. But Catherine calmly placed a hand on my arm. She slowly removed her sunglasses, revealing that unreadable, stunning face. "What's the hurry?" She sighed. Her waking up isn't a reason to interrupt a perfectly good fishing trip. I nearly cried. "Mom, that's your daughter." She blinked. "Oh, right. I almost forgot." By the time our private jet landed back in Connecticut, Victoria was already sitting upright in a high-end medical bed. She was stunning, ice-cold beautiful. She had Catherine's delicate features and Harrison's ruthless authority. Her eyes swept to me, cold, calculating. I forced a smile. Honey, you're awake." Her voice was dry and raspy. She looked at Catherine. "Follow me in." Catherine walked beside her. I stayed quiet. Victoria finally spoke. "I see. Mother." Her eyes shifted to me. "Who is he?" Catherine didn't even blink. "Oh, that's Ethan. The husband we married you for good luck. See? It worked." Victoria's expression didn't change. She scanned the master bedroom, and I felt dread, because, over 3 years, I had turned it into my personal man cave. A massive Star Destroyer model mounted on the wall. High-end gaming rig in one corner. A signed limited edition Tom Brady jersey tossed on a sofa. The entire room smelled like my cedarwood cologne. Her brows tightened. The air went colder. "I'll clean it," I blurted. "I'll move everything. Right now." She didn't answer. She just closed her eyes. An assistant began rapid-fire briefing her on everything she'd missed. I quietly backed out. The door shut. Catherine and I let out the same deep breath. Our shoulders slumped. I leaned in and whispered, "Mom, are you scared of Victoria?" She shot me a glare. "Who's scared?" Then, quietly, "It's just she has her father's eyes. It creeps me out." And I understood. Harrison Bowmont. Cold. Impenetrable. Dominating. Catherine had been born into one of the most powerful families in the country. In her youth, she was everything. A debutante with suitors from Paris to New York. But she was sold. Married off to Harrison Bowmont for a business merger. There were rumors. She'd loved an artist once. He vanished overseas when they were forced to break up. Harrison allegedly had his own, one that got away. Their 20-year marriage was a business alliance. No warmth. No love. Only power. Only one child. Victoria. In the 3 years I had lived there, I could count the times I'd seen Harrison on one hand. When they were together, they weren't husband and wife. They weren't even friends. They were two CEOs sharing a conference table. Catherine patted my shoulder. "What are you thinking so hard about?" She smiled. "Come on. I just bought a blue diamond at auction. Let's figure out the setting." My eyes lit up instantly. The newly awakened Victoria vanished from my mind. "You're the best, Mom," I said, and followed her. Victoria's return sent shockwaves through the Bowmont Group and global financial markets. Catherine had the kitchen prepare an elaborate welcome-home family dinner. She called Harrison. He was in London handling an urgent merger. That evening, Harrison arrived, jet-lagged, exhausted, and behind him, Ava Chun, perfectly dressed, custom Armani suit. She was his special assistant, his right hand, and, according to rumors, his mistress. She'd never married. She moved like discipline and danger. She handed Harrison a folder, then smiled at Catherine. "Catherine, wonderful news about Victoria. A true miracle." I noticed Catherine's fingers tighten slightly around her wine glass, but her smile never broke. "Thank you, Ava." At the dinner table, Ava naturally took the seat between Harrison and Catherine. She spoke casually about company matters. She leaned a little too close. "Harrison, the chef flew the truffle in just for you." Then to Catherine, "This vintage is from the vineyard you were curious about." I watched in silence. Ava carried herself like the lady of the house. She moved with effortless grace, confidence engraved in every step. Yet there was something else, a strange, almost surgical watchfulness that she kept trained on Catherine. She wasn't some cheap homewrecker. Her game was on another level entirely. I'd heard the rumors. When Victoria had her accident 3 years ago, it was Ava who stepped in, masterfully handled the fallout, and stabilized the company's crashing stock price. I'd seen her at the estate before, always under the excuse of work, always arriving at Harrison's side. And every single time, she made sure to check in on Catherine. Her words were coated in politeness, but threaded with something else, a subtle, cutting implication that she was the one who truly understood Harrison. Once in the garden, I had overheard her say to Catherine, "Harrison and I have weathered so many storms together over the years. We have a shorthand that others could never understand. You're so lucky you get to stay home and enjoy the peace and quiet." And every time those words landed, Harrison would just happen to appear. Coincidence, maybe, but it always felt deliberate. He'd smoothly redirect the conversation, shifting attention away from Ava, as if shielding her from Catherine's potential wrath. Just like tonight, the air between the two women thickened. Harrison, ever the strategist, slid the topic to a newly acquired European company. Ava's focus locked in instantly. She and Victoria launched into rapid-fire corporate strategy. I turned and looked at Catherine. She was eating quietly, silently, and in that moment, I finally understood the loneliness that lived behind her eyes. In this massive empire she'd married into, she wasn't the queen. She wasn't the core. She was just a beautiful, well-dressed outsider. Even her own daughter thought and acted more like Harrison and Ava than her. That realization hit me hard. "Mom, try this," I said gently, placing a spoonful of Chef Intoan's signature truffle risotto onto her plate. "It's his specialty. Perfect tonight." Her eyes softened. The distant look faded. "You're always so thoughtful, Ethan." I wasn't going to let her feel invisible at that table. Not tonight. Not ever. I spent the rest of dinner doing everything I could to keep her engaged. From a new speakeasy I discovered, to the latest Bugatti model, to gossip from the auction houses, to which country club served the best cigars. I talked, I joked, I entertained, and somehow I dragged us both through that painfully awkward meal. After dinner, Catherine and I escaped to the home theater. The Lakers game was on. I collapsed into the massage chair and tossed her a cold beer. "Mom, look at that pass. Terrible. I could do better." She caught the bottle, took a very unladylike swig, and laughed. "In your dreams." What she didn't know, I'd secretly bought a small stake in the team. Early on, I'd used the financial instincts from my previous life and the resources of the Bowmonts to make quiet, calculated investments. Esports teams, metaverse ventures, real estate, next-gen battery tech. I'd made a killing. But that success didn't sit well with everyone. Some of the older conservative board members thought I was a disgrace to the family name. They wanted to audit my accounts. If Catherine hadn't stepped in, if she hadn't vouched for me, I would have been destroyed. That was when I learned the truth. She'd been secretly tracking all my investments, clearing obstacles, handling threats, protecting me. I hadn't been alone. A spectacular three-pointer dropped. Catherine actually cheered. She looked like a teenager, her face glowing in the screen's light. Joyful. Alive. "This is way better than those stuffy dinners," she said. Watching her, I couldn't understand how Harrison had been so blind for so long. She laughed and ruffled my hair. "What are you staring at, you goof?" Then I saw him. Harrison, standing in the doorway, watching Catherine, his face unreadable. The second she noticed him, her smile vanished. She stood, walked toward him, and glanced back at me. "Get some rest, Ethan." Back in the master suite, reality finally hit me. Victoria was awake, and technically, I was still her husband. I was supposed to sleep in that room. My heart started pounding. I called for an assistant immediately. "Can you move my things?" The console, collectibles, jerseys, everything, back to my old guest room. I'd only been sleeping in the master suite, so the medical team could monitor her around the clock, and because my good luck charm presence was required. But now, the real occupant was back. It was time for the freeloader to disappear with grace. The assistant had just picked up my VR headset. When Victoria stepped out of the ensuite bathroom, she wore a silk robe. It barely hid her flawless figure. In that moment, she looked less like a CEO and more like a femme fatale. She frowned slightly. "What are you doing?" I braced myself. "Victoria, you just woke up. You need peace and quiet. I'm a restless sleeper. I don't want to disturb you. It's better if I move back." Her eyes settled on my face. Cold. Flat. "It's late. Do it tomorrow." Once we were alone, the silence was unbearable. Victoria sat on the sofa, scrolling through emails on her tablet. The glow reflected in her cold, perfect face. I sat on the edge of the bed, pretending to read the news, while stealing glances at her reflection. On a normal night, even a dumb video would have had me laughing. Tonight, not even the threat of world war could make me smile. I switched to financial reports. My eyes got heavy. Then her voice cut through the room. "Go to sleep." She'd put down her tablet. Her voice was clear, precise, final. I nodded, climbed under the covers, and lay there the whole night, rigid, still, like a corpse pretending to breathe. The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, I noticed it, a faint red mark, just beneath the collar of her silk pajamas. My eyes dropped instantly to my plate. Eggs, toast, anything. My mind screamed, "Damn Harrison." The old man still had it. Victoria's recovery was nothing short of a miracle. For the Bowmont Group, it was like a second sunrise. Her physical strength was insane. And with the world's best medical team, she was back to full workload in under 2 weeks, on top of grueling daily physical therapy. One day, a world-renowned physician came for her final evaluation. Mistress Bowmont's recovery is nothing short of miraculous. The care she received for the past 3 years was flawless. Her body was maintained in peak condition. Catherine turned toward me. "That was all Ethan," she said. "He spent 3 years learning therapeutic massage from specialists, worked with the nutritionists on meal plans, and insisted she get daily sun exposure for positive energy." I felt my face burn. Truth? Every time I did well, Catherine rewarded me. New opportunities, new investment projects, new connections. I wasn't just kind. I was motivated. Victoria looked at me. "Thank you." Flat tone. Corporate tone. Like a CEO telling a junior employee. "Good work." After that, My fears were confirmed. Victoria wasn't cruel. She was polite, professional, cold. Her entire existence became about one thing: reclaiming control of the company. She was everywhere. Meetings, calls, travel. We barely crossed paths. Once I moved back to the guest room, there was nothing. No real interactions. Only polite distance. Only formal silence. I accepted it. She can't stand me, I thought. And I stopped trying. New plan? Lay low. Stay protected by Catherine. Enjoy the good life. That changed at a Beaumont business summit. The ballroom glittered. Glasses clinked. Power moved through the air. I stood silently beside Catherine, playing my role perfectly. And then I saw him. Julian Vance. The golden boy of Silicon Valley. Handsome. Brilliant. Dangerously charismatic. And his eyes were locked on Victoria. I was suddenly very interested. During a break, I stepped onto the terrace with Catherine, and I overheard something I wasn't meant to hear. If Victoria hadn't had the accident, the Beaumont-Vance merger, business and personal, would have been done years ago. There wouldn't have been room for anyone else. I heard Vance's been devoted to her for 3 years. A union like that? Natural order. My stomach dropped. It all clicked. That's why people kept hinting all evening. That's why they kept asking Catherine about our plans. And Catherine? She deflected like a master. The children will figure out their lives. We old people shouldn't meddle. Now I understood. Julian Vance wasn't just a rumor. He was history. He was destiny. He was the man that was supposed to stand beside her. And I was the obstacle. Catherine's voice sliced through the chatter. The Beaumont family's private affairs are not for public discussion. Ethan is my son-in-law, and he is a Beaumont. The men mumbled apologies and scattered. My chest tightened. That was enough. Whatever Victoria and Julian had, my time here was over. The gravy train had reached its final stop. Soon after that summit, Victoria officially resumed her position as CEO. That day, she and Harrison were in Manhattan. The estate felt hollow, silent. I went to my room, opened my laptop, and typed. Divorce agreement. 3 years had passed. Between Catherine's resources and my quiet investments, I had enough money to last several lifetimes. I didn't need the title, didn't need the name, didn't need the cage. Only thing I couldn't replace? Catherine. I found her, handed her the freshly printed document, explained everything. She didn't argue, didn't protest. She immediately told her assistant to begin transferring key assets, arranging travel. Mom, I'm leaving because this charade is over. Then my voice cracked. Why are you blowing everything up too? I reached for her laptop in panic. She looked up and smiled, radiant, peaceful, alive. Ethan, life is short. Seize the day. She paused. It took me too long to realize that. But it's not too late for you. What about Harrison? I asked. The company? The stock? She laughed. And it was the freest laugh I'd ever heard. The Beaumont Group is solid. Victoria is back. The sky won't fall. Then she said it quietly. It's time I started living for myself. Her assistant wiped her eyes. You should have done this years ago, Catherine, she whispered. That afternoon, 2 divorce agreements were laid on the dining room table. Suitcases were packed. Black cards filled our wallets. A private jet waited. We left the Beaumont estate behind for good. Catherine took me to a private island in the Bahamas. I'd never seen it before. It was paradise. Pristine beaches, luxury villas, water bluer than any sky I'd ever known, even more breathtaking than the Greenwich estate. This place is insane, I said, digging my toes into the soft white sand. Catherine reclined on a lounge chair, wide-brimmed sun hat, sunglasses, a distant look in her eyes. And for the first time in years, she looked free. Yes, it's mine, Catherine said softly. It isn't listed under the Beaumont name. She waved her hand toward the horizon. I used to come here for a few days whenever things became too much. She exhaled slowly. No more looking back. I handed her a frosty glass of fruit juice, grinning like a complete idiot. From now on, we're a dynamic duo of happily single billionaires. She laughed and took a sip. You're right. Like you said before, a woman, no, a person, needs their own territory. She looked around the island. This will be our new base of operations. We spent the day getting settled. That night, Catherine ordered the staff to prepare a lavish seafood feast. We drank fine wine on the beach, under a sky overflowing with stars. After a few glasses, she finally began to open up. I was foolish back then, she said quietly. I thought an arranged marriage was just what people did. I married him out of spite. I thought we could just live separate lives under the same roof. She stared into the dark water. But a canary in a gilded cage is still a prisoner, no matter how beautiful the cage is. She swallowed. I tried to fit into his world. I truly did. But we were never the same. These past 20 years, I've looked glamorous from the outside, but inside, I have been empty for a long time. I listened in silence. My heart ached for her. I was just about to speak when her assistant approached, holding a satellite phone. Catherine, she whispered, it's Mr. Bowmont and Ms. Bowmont. They've been trying your line. Catherine paused, set her glass down gently. Hang up, she said calmly. Everything that needs to be said is in the agreement. For the next few days, Catherine blocked all communication from the Bowmonts and settled into her role as queen of the island. But I could see it clearly. She wasn't as carefree as she looked. So I had an idea. Mom, I said, since we have time, why don't we do something fun? Let's produce a movie based on your life. Her eyes lit up. That's interesting, she said. Tell me more. So I pitched her Island Queen. The story of a glamorous society wife who escapes her unhappy marriage, starts over on a private island, builds her own empire, and lives surrounded by a rotating cast of handsome young men. I left that last part out. The project exploded before it even existed. Studios buzzed. Streaming platforms fought over exclusive rights. Offers rolled in. But just as I was about to close a deal, the producer called. His voice was tight. Ethan, we may have to shelve the project. The Bowmont Group had started leaning on partners, squeezing pressure in the background. I slammed my hand down. If we can't make the movie, we'll live it. So we booked an entire luxury resort on a neighboring island, a place famous for its scenery, and even more famous for its staff. A literal army of aspiring models and actors worked there as servers, hosts, and coordinators. We had just settled into the VIP lounge when a sun-kissed surf instructor approached. Dazzling smile, 8-pack abs. Hey guys, ready for some adventure? Catherine raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. This is already more interesting than a corporate board meeting. I nodded as another staffer, this one with the soulful eyes of a starving artist, started mixing our cocktails and sketching our portraits on a napkin. On stage, a dance troupe performed a high-energy routine, music pulsing through the room, lights flashing. We sipped, watched, relaxed, and before long, we were both a little tipsy. You really need to work on your tolerance, she teased, watching me sway slightly. I grinned, completely helpless. This stuff, it's way stronger than it looks. The artist type offered us hot tropical fruit tea to sober up, leaning in close as he set the glasses on the table. Then chaos exploded. The doors burst open. 2 familiar figures strode inside, flanked by bodyguards. Faces like thunderclouds. Harrison Bowmont. And my wife, Victoria. Harrison's eyes fixed on us. On Catherine. Surrounded by young, handsome men. His face turned a horrifying shade of purple. Catherine. Ethan. What the hell do you think you're doing? Victoria stood behind him. Her gaze locked on my flushed face. And the artist beside me. She looked like she was about to freeze the entire island solid. The singer on stage missed a note. The dance troupe froze. The entire room went silent. Every guest stopped. All eyes on us. The alcohol buzz vanished instantly. I straightened. Sat upright. Catherine? Completely calm. She took a slow sip of her cocktail. Harrison. I don't believe this is any of your business. She smiled faintly. As you can see, I'm enjoying my life. A vein pulsed in Harrison's temple. Catherine, stop this nonsense. Come home. He tried to move forward, but our bodyguards and the resort's security formed a wall instantly. Harrison scoffed. You think these people can stop me? That's when Catherine looked directly into his eyes. Her voice quiet, firm, deadly calm. Harrison, we've been married for 20 years. It was a business deal. I didn't want it. You settled for it. She didn't blink. Now that Victoria can run the empire, I am done playing the part of Mrs. Bowmont. Harrison's jaw tightened. But she wasn't finished. You only ever cared about your empire and your devoted assistant. She leaned in slightly. So why are you pretending to care about my life now? For the first time, I saw panic flicker on Harrison's face. The resort manager quietly escorted the other guests away. The room emptied. Catherine stood, took my arm. We're leaving. I scrambled after her. As we passed Victoria, I saw conflict flicker in her eyes. I silently begged, please, just sign the papers. Let me go. Then she spoke, voice cold, but threaded with frustration. Mother can do as she pleases. Her gaze turned to me. But, Ethan, you are my legal husband. You will stay. I raised my hand slowly, trying not to die on the spot. Ms. Bowmont, actually, I was the one who initiated the divorce. I invited your mother here to get away for a bit. Harrison's gaze shot to me. If looks could drown a man, I'd already be underwater. Catherine stepped in front of me, shielded me. Victoria, you can't force things. If you truly care for Mr. Vance, then sign the papers and be done with it. Her voice sharpened. Don't be like your father. Don't waste your life and someone else's. Harrison. His voice cracked, urgent, almost desperate. It's not what you think. Ava. Catherine cut him off with a simple wave. Her eyes looked tired, bone deep tired. Harrison, I've heard your explanations for 20 years. I'm tired. I want to live for myself. And then she walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't hesitate. I followed quickly. But just before turning, I saw it. Harrison frozen in place. And Victoria staring at me. An expression I couldn't begin to translate. The resort incident exploded through elite social circles. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Catherine had finally broken free. Others whispered I'd run away with my mother-in-law. It even caused a temporary dip in Beaumont Group stock. When the news reached Catherine's family, her older brother laughed. As long as my sister is happy, that's all that matters. Harrison never deserved her anyway. The resort we'd visited exploded in popularity. Rich women flooded in. Their business boomed. Days later, a helicopter landed on the island. Harrison, Victoria, and Ava Chun. From the helipad, I could already see. Harrison and Ava had been arguing. Ava, you and Catherine are divorced. You have no right to dictate where I go, Ava snapped. Harrison's brow furrowed. Ava, I tolerated your ambitions because of your service to the company. But you're going too far. The fight escalated. Security finally let them inside. The glass-walled living room felt electric. Harrison took the center, his face dark. Ava, I'm going to tell Catherine the truth. Right here. Right now. Ava laughed. Bitter. Free. The truth? About what? She looked at him with disgust. Why? I've worked myself to the bone for your company all these years. Harrison, did you really think I did it for you? Her eyes shifted, locked onto Catherine. Honest. Raw. I stayed by his side not because I loved him. She inhaled. It's because I love you. The words hit the room like lightning. The wine glass slipped from Catherine's hand. Soft thud on the rug. Her eyes widened. What? What are you talking about? But you always said you, and he had an understanding. Victoria pressed her fingers against her temples. She looked exhausted. Mom, I suspected something. Ava just went about it the wrong way. Dad was completely oblivious. He thought she was just a devoted employee. It all snapped into place. Harrison stood frozen, cracks spreading through his stoic face. His world fractured. Catherine held her chest, pointed a trembling finger. At Harrison. At Ava. "You people are insane." She shouted. "Get out. All of you. Get out." She pointed toward the exit. Her elegance gone. Her composure shattered. Ava looked at her, pain in her eyes. "But, steady. Catherine. I know you can't accept this right now. But everything I said is true. I'll wait for the day you're ready to see me." She took Harrison's arm, pulled him out. Before Catherine could breathe, she noticed Victoria still standing there. "You go too," she said, eyes squeezed shut. But Victoria stepped forward. Her voice changed. Soft, serious, almost pleading. "Mom, you and Dad are getting divorced. I'm an adult. I can choose who I want to be with, can't I?" I nearly choked. That line. It was straight out of my movie pitch. Island Queen. How did she know? Catherine's eyes flew open. "Victoria, when did you learn to talk like that?" "I'm serious," Victoria said. She glanced at me. "Dad and I were wrong. We neglected you for years. I don't want to make the same mistake. I can handle the company remotely. I want to stay here with you and him." The last two words were barely a whisper. Catherine looked at her daughter. Her anger finally softened. Not into peace, but exhaustion. She waved her hand, turned toward the terrace. "Do whatever you want." She walked out. I moved to follow, but Victoria gently caught my wrist. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "There was a misunderstanding about Julian Vance. He pursued me, yes, but I never agreed. At the summit, he cornered me. I pushed him away. I lifted an eyebrow. She stiffened. I, Victoria Bowmont, am not a fickle person." A faint blush crept up her neck. She tried to stay composed. "And legally, you're still my husband. For 3 years, you touched my entire body during physical therapy. You have to take responsibility." I almost laughed. "Victoria, I performed medical procedures." "I don't care," she said, suddenly stubborn. She looked straight at me, intense, unblinking. "I never signed the divorce papers. So you're still mine." Seeing this softer, almost childish side of such a cold, powerful CEO was strange, and honestly a little funny. I decided to tease her. Responsibility for what? I'm officially retired from the trophy husband business. For the first time, real panic flashed across her face. "Then I'll marry into your family," she blurted out before thinking. "Besides, Mom likes you better anyway." The second the words left her mouth, she froze. Her face turned bright red. I didn't know what to say. "Mom, are you okay?" I asked as I walked out onto the terrace, where Catherine stood staring at the horizon. She turned toward me slowly. Her eyes looked distant, almost dreamy. "I feel like I've lived half my life as a joke or inside some bizarre dream," she said quietly. Honestly, the whole situation felt unreal. I sat beside her. "Don't think about it, Mom." Then Victoria casually added, "It seems the Vance family wants to partner with the Beaumont Group on that new green energy project in Southeast Asia." Catherine answered without even thinking. "Harrison will handle it." There was something familiar in her voice. Trust. Maybe 20 years of marriage, even without love, creates bonds outsiders would never understand. "And Ava?" I asked. Catherine sighed and rubbed her temples. "Let her cool off. I don't have the energy to deal with any of it right now." Over the next few days, our phones wouldn't stop ringing. Harrison, Victoria, Ava, constant apologies. Finally, we had enough. Catherine and I turned off all our devices, got on the yacht, and disappeared. Out on the open water, there was nothing but blue sky, blue ocean, and the sound of gulls. We fished. We snorkeled. We lay on the deck in the sun. For a while, we almost forgot everything. One afternoon, we came back from a dive. We were about to pop open a bottle of champagne when the yacht engine sputtered and died. We were drifting. I was about to check the engine when a much larger, even more luxurious yacht pulled up beside us. On the deck stood two familiar figures, both in casual resort clothes. Harrison and Victoria. Harrison spoke first. He looked awkward. He was holding a toolbox. "Catherine, looks like you're having engine trouble. Need a hand?" He cleared his throat. I have a boating mechanic's license." Before Catherine could even answer, Victoria stepped forward holding a platter of fruit. She glanced at me. Her voice was clipped, but not cruel. "Mom, Ethan, have some fruit. For the vitamins." Catherine and I just stood there on our deck, staring at this strange, completely different version of the Bowmonts. Then we looked at each other. And finally, Catherine couldn't hold it in. She burst out laughing. I thought to myself, looks like the script for Island Queen needs a complete rewrite. The end. Epilogue, Harrison. 20 years ago, when the DuPonts proposed a merger, I had just finished a hostile takeover of my biggest competitor. At the gala, the room was full of people trying to impress me. But through all those faces, I saw only her. She wore a red Valentino gown. She sat alone in the corner, calmly sipping wine. She had just come back from studying abroad. Everyone was watching her, yet she looked unreachable. When she noticed me staring, she lifted her glass slightly and gave me a faint, almost mocking smile. In that moment, I forgot every rehearsed business line. I could only awkwardly lift my glass back. Later, my assistant told me, "Miss DuPont is fighting the marriage. She's in love with someone else. An artist. Her family forced them apart." On our wedding night, in a suite decorated like a palace, she stood with her back to me. "Harrison," she said coldly, "this is a business arrangement. There's no need to pretend. We will not interfere in each other's lives." "Fine," I answered. I went to the study and stared at merger papers all night without understanding a word. I told myself this was normal. She was a DuPont. I was a Bowmont. Civility was the best we could hope for. But slowly, I started watching her. The flowers she arranged. I moved to my study after claiming the room needed color. A casual business comment she once made, I thought about it for days. When she smiled gently at the staff, it filled me with a strange irritation. Soon after our marriage, she became pregnant with Victoria. When her morning sickness was severe, I secretly bought a luxury prenatal wellness retreat and called it an investment. The night she gave birth, I stood outside the delivery room all night. My hands shook so badly I could barely sign the papers. After that, I had a vasectomy in secret. I couldn't bear the thought of her suffering like that again. Ava used to tell me, "Harrison, if you don't say what you feel, no one will ever know." But I was a man who lived on control. The one thing I never controlled was my own heart. Every time I tried to speak, the words turned into, "This project has good profit margins," or "The stock is up again." It wasn't until she left the divorce agreement on the table and walked away with Ethan that I finally understood. All my silent, clumsy attempts to protect her only pushed her further away. Now, standing on the deck of this yacht, Catherine looked at me. There was surprise in her eyes, distance, and the faintest trace of amusement. "You know how to fix a yacht, Harrison?" she asked. I stepped forward, my gaze steady. "No," I said, "but I can learn, if it's what you need." End.